and my wife got it.
And that's
I heard you weren't into horror.
I guess maybe I had my fill when I was like younger.
Oh, so you have been caught up with this the horror.
I'll see every Friday the 13th movie, every Nightmare on Elm Street I'll watch because that's part of my childhood. But I'm not like a big
hardcore aficionado.
Well, you know what happened is they start like it stopped being horror movies like the jump scare or what's happening with the villain or the bad guy, and started getting more into like, how can I just do perverse things in humanity, just like fuck people up really bad, you know what I mean? Like it's no longer horror, it's just like I could twist his arm and make him eat it, and it's like, but that's kind of, I mean, it's fucked up, but I mean, I guess it is horrible, but it used to be more like, ooh, the big bad, like Freddy.
Yeah. I know what you're getting at.
And now it's like, it's just like how
it's like conceptual now. You know, it's like all these like ideas. You know, let's put a theme and there's a mystery. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's fine. I'm not against that idea. That's kind of what I brought up before with the review that I did for The Purge. Like, it's kind of like a high concept idea where it's about society. I am not against that idea. Some films do it very well,
right,
because there's almost like a tongue-in-cheek aspect behind it. Like for me, one of those films that has the like whole, you know, social commentary that I think did it very effectively, and you know wasn't well received at the time, was They Live by John Carpenter. That is a fucking fantastic movie. You ever seen that film?
I love that movie, dude.
Dude, that movie.
As a matter of fact, I look around today and I'm just like,
yeah, it's exactly my point. So like when I saw that movie, my because I was working at a video store at the time. I don't know if because you're up in Northern Virginia, aren't you?
Yeah.
You remember Video Warehouse?
Yeah.
So I used to work there, the one up in Falls Church, and I worked on one in there's two in Falls Church at the time that I worked at, and then there was one in Arlington.
I know the chain. I don't know the specific.
Well, I'm just like, I'm just giving you an idea. Well, it was I just thought you might know. But anyways, the point I'm getting is that, so I was working there, and the guy that I was working with was like, I forgot how we got into it, but he was like, you saw The Matrix, right? I was like, of course I did. He's like, if you watch this movie, you'll know for a fact those guys who made The Matrix, they saw this film too. I mean, there's no way denying that they saw this movie and then didn't get influenced to help make The Matrix. I was like, all right, let me watch it, and I was fucking blown away. Like how no one's ever heard of this film when it came out? He's like,
They Live.
Yeah, because it wasn't a very popular movie at least at that time, and then slowly started kind of giving a cult following, and I was just blown away. Well, anyway, so that's a high concept idea that deals with social commentary, but it's done well.
Well, here's the thing. It's not about the high concept idea and social commentary. It's more about it, like it's gone towards torture porn. Like that's the thing that I'm not cool with. You know what I mean? It's like,
so you didn't dig Hostel?
No, like Hostel, Saw, all that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the first one, like the initial ones.
Which one, the Hostel or Saw?
Both. Like I saw the first Hostel, I saw the first Saw, and then I think that was the end of my like horror watching career. I was just like, you know what? Not for me. I'm just not into the like, and that's what I mean. It's like, how perverse and how fucked up can we be to each other in humanity? You know what I mean? Like the horror movies before, it's like, oh, some supernatural being, like what's driving him? How can he keep going? Is he going to pop up here? That type of thing was.
Well, I mean,
like, okay,
those type of horrors actually did exist, though. I don't know if you're too familiar with it, but you know, you guys, I mean, not you guys, you have films like
you oldies.
Well, I mean, how old are you?
I'm 40.
Oh, I'm 36, so you're not that far off from me.
Right.
So, I didn't mean to say you guys. I meant to say you have films. That's what I was trying to say. So you have films that came out at the time, like with like we have Dario Argento, like the Italian horror, British horror, and some of those guys tend to be more focused on like the theme and the story plus the gore factor as well too, which that was kind of like the thing that for it. So those movies were never really released here in the States, except when VHS became a thing, and that's when it really started getting more momentum, at that time. And those movies did exist, but they have like a much more like richer story behind it, and then the gore was just like an added element to it, which was kind of funny. Some of they were good, some of they weren't. So it was always like, it was all over the place when it comes to that. But yeah, and then at the time too, I'll never forget. I don't know if you remember this from school, but when I was a kid, I was in middle school. I had a friend who was really into horror, and he's like, "You got to watch this one movie. This is gonna change your life forever." And I was like, "What's the film called?" Faces of Death. I was like, "Oh, that name sounds awesome." Yeah. So So, anyways, so he was like, "You gotta watch this movie," and I was like, What's it about?" He's like, "It's about how fucked up society is, but they kill people." I was like, "Cool, but it's for real." And I was like, "For real?" He's like, "Yeah." Then I found that it really wasn't that real. It was all kind of like,
Mm.
it's all fake for the most part, except for the animal stuff, which I don't like watching that stuff at
Well,
all.
the first Faces of Death was, did it have a storyline? Because if I remember,
It kind
Faces of
of
Death
did, if
was
I
just
remember.
like, it was just like people dying, just in like just people caught on tape dying,
Yeah,
basically.
it was kind of like that. And, you know, there was like an alligator or something, someone being eaten by the by some crocodile or some shit. And then there was like a restaurant that had people
With the monkey,
sitting now around the monkey, and
yeah,
they're
and on
beating it up,
in
and they're
tin
eating the
can.
body parts, whatever else.
Who said beating it up?
Well, yeah, or hammering it, whatever you want to
It's
call
just
it.
hammering the thing, and then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
So that was kind of fucked up. And I actually have, as a matter of fact, it's right over there. I'm literally looking at the entire series on
Oh, really?
VHS that I have. Yeah, it's like literally right there on the back here. So
Dude.
I've never watched all the other films. I've only seen that first one and bits and pieces of the other ones. But I just can't. I love gore in film, but you know it's got to be fantasy. It can't be that real shit for me.
Yeah,
Do well with that stuff.
that's the thing that I was kind of getting, I guess, a little turned off by, is it got
Yeah.
too much to like how terrible we can be to each other. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's what I mean in terms of like the gore. It's like another human who wants to basically cut you up, or you know what? I don't know. It's just when it's like, I didn't really like Hannibal Lecter or Science of the Lambs and all that type of stuff. I just I don't know. I mean, I liked it for the movie, but when they get into just like, I don't know. I like people being nice to other people. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Well,
It's like if
say
it's,
no, I'm just joking.
yeah, I know, right?
I'm just
Fucking
joking.
pussy. But if it's like a, if it's a, I don't know. It's weird. If it's a supernatural or someone who kind of has like a supernatural thing to them, then I'm like, okay, it's a supernatural, thing doing something to
Yeah, like
another
an
thing.
entity. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's weird because I like a Die Hard, where they're shooting people up, which is like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things, like in your
Hmm.
mind, you're just like, I don't like this, but I like this, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like the line of demarcation is
Yeah,
very
you can
fuzzy.
like compartmentalize each little like section. Like, you know, I like
Yeah,
this, but only if it has this here, and
yeah,
then I'll make an
exactly.
exception for this over here. Like I've done that with that's why, like for me, when it comes to like films, there are some films that just connect with me for whatever reason, but the same films that have the same, I guess, attributes
Yeah.
don't work for me at all. Like one of the I'll be the first to admit it. I tell this to everybody, and this is no joke. One of my favorite movies of all time is Street Fighter with Jean Claude Van Damme.
Shut the
I
fuck up.
love that film. I swear, I love that movie with all my heart. I saw it the day it came out, and even as a kid, I was
Street
like
Fighter.
9. Yeah, it came out in theaters
Yeah.
in '94, in December '94. I begged my dad to take me. I was like, I was like, please take me. He's like, I don't want to see that, because he knew it was a video game. He's like, I don't want to see that shit. So it was like an hour of begging. I told him, please, please, John Claude Van Damme's in the movie. He's a huge Van Damme fan at that time too. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. Okay, let's go. And I was like, that's all it took. God damn, I should have said that from the
I
first
know,
hour.
right? I should have
So
led with that.
we went, and then we saw the film. Even I knew it was terrible. This movie's not very good, but fuck that shit. I love that. And I've watched that movie religiously since I was a kid. So, that movie I know has, all these major errors, but for whatever reason, it connects with me. And I still can't really figure out what it is about it. Maybe it's the
Mm,
colors and the actors and how they portray
yeah.
the characters. Maybe it's all those things, but it still connects with me. But then I watch a movie like, say, Street Fighter Legend of Chun Li. That movie's fucking awful, and
but
I can't stand to
but it's
watch
the
that
same
movie.
thing,
It's
really.
more or less the same thing. It's kind of has the same tongue in cheek approach to it
Right.
that the first one has, but for whatever reason, it just didn't connect with me, and I can't stand that movie. Like I despise that film. So if it's on, fuck it, I'm walking away from it. But Street Fighter, the '94 film, I sit through that shit wherever it's at, and I'll watch it till the end. Like I love that movie. I still have it on VHS. I don't have it on Blu-ray, oddly enough. I have it on DVD. I have it on streaming platforms that I have access to. It's the same. I have it everywhere. Oh, and I also have it on Laserdisc as well too.
Anytime you need to get it, you can get your Street Fighter fix.
Just like that. I even have the soundtrack on cassette tape
With
too.
the soundtrack, yo, you're
Yeah.
deep in the Street Fighter.
Yeah, man. I got a poster. I got Van Damme to sign me well, he didn't sign it for me specifically, but it's a signed photo of Van Damme as Colonel Guile. So yeah, man, I'm all out for that. I got the poster, everything.
Gal was a colonel. Was he? Damn.
He's supposed to be Colonel Gao, but I never felt like he was. So
Yeah, right.
I was like, it just seemed like it's like you're the supervisor for. He might as well have been a supervisor, basically.
I
But
know, right? This nigga don't seem like he's in charge of people.
nah,
He out here fighting in the street.
yeah, a lot of people are like, Van Damme shouldn't be Gao. I was like, yeah, I agree, but I loved him in that part. For me, it's one of my favorite roles of
I gotta
his.
go back. I remember that movie. I just don't remember what happened in it. I remember that it got kind of like cast into like the abyss of things that I've seen and forgotten. Like
Yeah,
some things stand out. They have like a scene, and from
yeah,
that scene you can remember the rest of the movie a little bit. But then some things just get eternally forgotten.
yeah.
Like I feel like I could just remember like seeing Van Damme in the thing. It's a movie that I really love is Demolition Man.
Dude, that is my
That's my that
favorite
is my
action movie
favorite
of
fucking
all
thing.
time.
Dude, it was I waited for Demolition Man. Like from the moment they announced it, I waited for that movie to come out, and it was my shit. It's still one of my favorite movies to this day. It's
Yeah, same
got
here.
and you look at it and it's like, oh, that shit, it's not too far away. Although like the what you call it, the years that it takes place in have already like passed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we already got past all those years. But I mean, we're not far off, with all these people talking about like canceling and shit like that, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't say this and this is
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and now we say it like this, and it's like, oh, it could get to the point where they outlaw cursing, or like bad thought, and all food is starting to be outlawed to where we
No
just have one,
salt and shit like
yeah,
that.
one
Yeah,
thing that's Taco Bell basically.
yeah.
Although Taco Bell, I don't think is going to be the winner, but
Yeah, I was so surprised to see. I was expecting like McDonald's or Burger King or
they
something of
they
that
didn't
sort.
foresee the Popeyes chicken sandwich coming in and changing the game.
Yeah, that
that
was a
that
game
changed that
changer.
changed the dynamic of
Yeah, you're
the
right. I
fast
forgot
food
about that. That was like
wars.
recently too. I forgot all
Yeah.
about that. There was it was a long line. I remember. Yeah, someone told me, who was it I came across that told me this. They waited like in line for like an hour for that sandwich in the drive-through. I was
I
like, you
don't know
serious?
how it grabbed on to the zeitgeist or whatever you call it, like
Mm-hmm.
just the collective
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever of society, but it did, and people were fucking losing their minds over that
Yeah.
sandwich. I don't know how it did it. It's like, and I don't think Popeyes knew how they did it. They're like, I mean, we did the shit that we normally do. We put out a chicken
Yeah.
sandwich, and all of a sudden people lost their mind and went crazy. And we don't know how to recapture that. It's like, here, how about tenders? It's like, no, nigga, we just want the sandwich. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, what? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
that if everybody's like, yo, Rob, when you wear that hat and the headphones, like we just would have throw all this money at you. And you're like, oh, cool. Let me try this other hat. And they're just like, no. And you're like, I don't know what it.
Put the
I've been
damn
wearing
one
this.
back on. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right.
It's like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for years, and like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. It's
Anyway,
nuts though. It's like the yeah. I'm trying to remember what was another event like that no one expected to catch on, and it just like, oh, what is those things called? My kid had one of those things, those little spindle things that you spin on your
oh,
fingertip.
spinners, fidget spinners.
Fidget spinners. Yeah, I remember. I swear I remember before it became popular. I saw some kid have it. Didn't even think twice about it. I was like, it looks cool. And then like literally, I think like the next week or two, everybody had it. And my kid wanted to order one, and it was like backed up. And I was like, they're like there. You can buy them like at the store, anywhere, and they were sold out.
Yeah,
And
everywhere.
then and then like after, I don't know, was it like a month or so? I can't remember how long it was that thing lasted. But next thing you know, it's gone.
Yeah.
No one gives
And
two
then
shits about it.
like, and so everybody starts making it, and then it's everywhere,
Yeah.
and then nobody wants it anymore.
It's like oversaturated at that
Yeah.
point. But I just remember like that impact that thing had, and whoever started that must have made a shit ton of money
Yeah.
in a short span of time.
Do you remember Tamagotchis? You remember those?
Oh
like
yeah,
that was another thing that just all of a sudden
and
everybody had a Tamagotchi on their keychain or whatever.
Yeah, and there was another one here in America too, because they tried to copy that as well. Was it called Pet something or other? You remember what that was?
I forget what the
Migo Pets, or it was something like that. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember Tamagotchis, and I didn't see the concept behind it. And then once I actually got one, I could see why it was so popular. But then honestly, I really didn't care. By that point, I started losing interest in all things technology at that point.
You let your Tamagotchi die, bro.
Not on purpose. I really tried to take care of it, but it was like I had a hard time accepting the idea that there's this thing in my pocket that's beeping, and it reminded me so much of like my watch or whatever else. So I didn't take it too seriously, and then when it died, I was like, oh. Then I just hit restart, and there it is again. I was like, oh, but then what's the point of that? So I just like fuck it. I just stopped
Yeah,
following through with
right.
it.
If it was a real kid, then there's consequences. You can't just
Yeah,
let it.
can't put those things in the pocket.
Which I'm gonna figure out. I'm trying to figure that out. I feel like Tamagotchis are they were trying to teach me how to be a better father, but I never,
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, yeah. I never thought of it like that, to be honest with you. I just looked at it as a toy, and it was a cool one for a period of time, and then I just lost interest. Um, but yeah, but what I was actually really curious about was actually the shorts that you've done, because I actually seen quite a few of them
uh-huh.
that you've done on your own, along with your wife. Yeah, your wife, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, because
Then
you weren't married
girlfriend,
at the
now she's,
time.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's right. That's what I was thinking
exactly.
about. Sorry. So I was curious about some of those shorts you did, because I actually wrote some of them down that I wanted you to kind of touch upon here for me, because some of them were actually really funny. The ones that I found hilarious, honestly, were the ones when it came to relationships, interracial relationship. The one that cracked me up the most was was it? I wrote it down. Interracial relationships be like, and it was the last one where your girlfriend, well, your wife had kissed you, walked out, your boy met you outside the door, and you guys like powder on your face. So I'm curious now, because the idea is that I'm assuming you have come up with those skits there. You know, one, it's not easy to put them together. I learned that the hard way doing this when I do the reviews here. Like
Right.
I took that approach for granted, because I assumed that I can just do this. We'll put it there, 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 and that's it. It's not like that at all. And then the ideas that I had to put on makeup or whatever else, I thought would work out well, and I'd have to like really look in depth to like make sure that it can hold up well, that it'll look good on the camera, whatever else.
Uh-huh.
I've seen that. I did a review for The Godfather. I tried to make myself look old. I look exactly the same. So it made when I had that reveal of my face, it was just my big fat round face looking exactly the same, except with more tanned. So it made no difference. So when you're putting your skits together, and you're going through that process, I want you to tell me you know what what that process was like for you in the beginning, and where you are now with it, because I know you haven't done that many skits as of
Mm-hmm.
late here, but when you were going through that process there, uh how you first started handling it, and then how you started getting better with it, and then what changed for you and what didn't change, what you kept the same, what changes you made, what kind of tweaks and turns you made along the way. So I'm curious to see how that's got evolved for you.
Well, you know, I went to school for video production, right? And
Hmm.
with the idea of being a film director and doing some film, which I still have. But with that, I learned how to do things correct, which is kind of a hindrance in the sketch game, because in the sketch game you just want to get it out there. And
Improvise.
yeah, I was just very focused on doing it right. So I got to get the lighting right, and let me get the camera angle and shoot it all. And I think that held me back. I think I would have had a lot more sketches done had I not done that. So now where I'm at is less trying to be great technically, because I know that I have the ability to do it. Like I did a short film. I don't know if you saw that, again, the zone. Um,
I'm trying to remember if I did or not.
yeah, it was a cool little film that we did. I'll send you the link. I should have sent you the link before this. I didn't know you were gonna
It's on your
actually
channel,
do.
right?
It's on one of my channels. It's on my website, Level of
Okay.
Comedy. If you go in there, it has all the stuff. But I was too focused on doing things correctly.
Hmm.
So that like slows you down when you're doing the sketch thing. Now the writing thing, I constantly have random ass ideas, and I constantly have things that I think are funny. It's kind of, I think, just my upbringing or whatever. I'm
Hmm.
constantly thinking in humorous ways, and really, like, life is all a stage or whatever. We're all just players, and in my mind I'm always like moving the players around, and making these ideas like, what if this person did this, what if this happened, and then so that lends itself to coming up with sketches. But the thing that's held me back is not is not being okay with just grabbing a camera and just kind of doing it. It's like, even if you look at those, you could tell like they're like, I tried to light them or whatever
Hmm.
correctly. Like I should have done a lot more of kind of like the interracial road trip one that I did. Like there wasn't really much setup for that. It was just
I
me with
saw,
the
yeah, I saw that one.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
just
well,
me
you guys
with
were
the
going through the
cell phone.
winery, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
saw that one.
But
That was pretty good. I like that one.
a lot of it's just born from living life too. So it's like I come up with the idea and I'm like, this is kind of interesting, and then I should shoot it. But when you have that type of spontaneous thought, it doesn't lend itself to try to light it the right way and set things up, the right way. And I think because I have a background in doing that, that I know how to make it look that way, make it look like it was set up properly with like minimal effort. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah, yeah.
can take just a cell phone camera and shoot something, but yeah, man, the process is just think of it, and then I would kind of set up the camera, set up the lights or whatever, which would take a lot of time and energy, setting up, breaking down, and that energy and time kind of sapped away from the frequency of me doing it, because
Yeah.
then I start thinking like, oh man, I gotta set up if I want to do this skit. I gotta bring people out, and I should have just went full bore into just shoot the crazy idea and like put it out there, because you see a lot of um these great YouTubes and TikTok stars. Like the one that I love is Supreme Dreams. I don't know if you know about those guys, the RDC
Mm.
guys. They always do like the black dude animes or whatever.
Sounds
Um,
familiar, but I really don't keep up a lot with some of the newer YouTubers and whatever they're doing. My son does. If anything,
yeah.
I'll just refer to him.
Yeah, ask him. He'll know about him. It's
Yeah.
Money Mark, and then like his boy like Leland and Ben, and it's just like a group that does like all these videos, but they don't go out and set everything up. I think as time has gone on, they put a lot of more effort into their skits and setting things up, but it's not something that they do, um, like every time. Sometimes they just have like a camera and just like kind of run and gun it, and I'm like, man, that's what I should do now. And I feel like now that I've kind of established things, you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
feel like I've gotten that part of myself out. Like I know how to use a camera. Like I got to show people I know what I'm doing. Like I got that whole need out. It's like,
Yeah.
nah,
Right.
just throw some shit up, get some stuff up there.
Yeah. Well, because I'm curious now with you, because when I was actually watching your videos, I was reflecting on what I've done as well too. And it's strictly just based on what I've learned from watching things behind the scene, or actually have seen people do certain things that I kind of picked up along the way. But since technology has changed so much, before I used to think I need to get this type of equipment for me to get this type of setup and shot or whatever else. And then nowadays, I can just grab my phone and boom, I'm done in like 10 minutes. So when you're putting your shots together, are you mostly doing it all on your own, or is your wife helping you with the setups as well?
She does a little bit of help
Okay.
here and there. She's super. I mean, she's super helpful where she can. It's just that this isn't. It's not her field. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So a lot of it's me. Um, way back when I was first starting my kind of I guess directorial path, I
Hmm.
did a lot of the 28-hour film festivals and the 48-hour film festivals,
Hmm.
and with doing that, you learn how to shoot things quick and how to get things into the camera quickly and set things up, and that served me well for doing these skits, because I don't have to take a lot of time to set up, and I can conceptualize something and kind of visualize how it would be shot and the space in which I would shoot it, which takes a lot of the guesswork out of where I'm gonna put the camera, and what when I see a area, I already am thinking of where the camera would go, how I would fit the camera in there, and what's the camera going to see. So a lot of that stuff is kind of done in my mind or whatever, and
Hmm.
also I'm like editing in my mind. So like I said, because of doing these other short film festivals where you have to make a film in the course of 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever, you don't want to mess up. You got to get the shot that you got to get. So it helped me think ahead in terms of getting my shot. So I'm always thinking like steps ahead of how the shot's going to look. How's it going to look when I edit it? How am I going to be able to splice it? How am I going to make that cut or transition? So I've already set that up in my mind,
Yeah.
so that when I place the camera and everything, I'm like, all right, I know it needs to look like this, and then it needs to turn and do this, so that when I cut them together, because I do editing as well too. So
Yeah.
um, that helps with all of that. You know what I mean? Um, that helps with uh, shooting the whole thing, because you know how you're gonna do it kind of in the edit room. So it speeds up the process. So there's a lot of things that I probably have done that it might have taken like a longer time for other people to do it, but for me it's like very quick because of that background. You know what I mean? Like coming from a production background, and then also like editing quick. And then also you worked at a news station. So in terms of like editing, like quickly putting things together, like I know how to do that from like the old analog days, and then,
Mhm.
to now. So
So
that helps. That serves.
what process do you prefer more? And for me, for example, like I actually prefer the editing process more so than I do directing. I always felt like for myself, I'm a much better producer. Like I know, okay, I can get the right people involved in the project to do the right things, and I'll keep track of all the other departments here to know,
Yeah.
get this in order. Like I always felt like I was better with that. But when it came to directing, it's because I'm constantly just thinking all the time. It's hard for me to kind of keep focus on like how to set the shot up and then keep in tune with that process there. Like I feel like I have to keep moving around so much. So I don't know if like for you, if there's a certain aspect of that part of production that you prefer more than the other.
I you know I love I love the feeling of done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
same here.
I love when it's all completed. I'm like, sigh of relief. But I actually like all the pieces of it. The pre-planning piece is probably the one that I dislike the
Dread the
most.
most.
Yeah, I dread the
Yeah.
most, and
Yeah.
that's like coming up with the script and all that type of stuff. But it's really great once you have that in hand. But I like, kind of, because there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with the pre-planning. It's like, because you come up with this plan, it's like, is it going to work? The directing part, I love figuring it out. I love figuring out how to work the camera, how to get the camera to get what you want, how to get the actors to give you the performance that you want, how to make everybody happy on set. Like I really like to have a happy set when I'm, directing or doing anything. I really That's like the one thing I want to take away is like, after we've done this project, because all it is, a project. It's a big group assignment. And it's like I want people to walk away like that was actually a pretty fun group assignment.
Mhm.
Like that's what I want people to walk away. And hopefully, as I continue to do the directing thing, that'll be what people remember. Like, what, I'll do that. I had fun on that set. I'll come in there, and maybe it's like, I'll take less. Like I want people to want to be on a set where I'm producing it,
Yeah.
or I'm directing it. So that's what I kind of strive for. And the directing part of it is great. I love the editing process because it's where you kind of hone things. It's almost like a craftsman, someone who
Mhm.
does like
Yeah.
sculpture, wood sculpture or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I love the pre-planning part. Is difficult, but once you get the chainsaw out and you're cutting the wood in like
Mhm.
big swaths, which is directing, you're getting all that information and putting into the camera. That part is very, very cool. And then I feel like finishing it, which is like whittling down, making all those fine little incisions to give the definition to the sculpture that you've created.
Yeah.
I really I enjoy that process too a lot, because you get to
Yeah.
manipulate the thing that you created. And my favorite thing is like like editing some scene, where the viewer just watches it and it's like a split second to them. I'm like, but you don't even understand. Like I filmed it this way, and then I turned it this
Yeah.
way, and then I edited it, and I shaved off a frame here so that you wouldn't notice. And like I love that part of it too, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So the whole creative process, I really, really enjoy. But directing is definitely something that I I love. And then the skits are, they're part of that. They're like that creative outlet. And so now I'm doing comedy and doing a bunch of other things. But the eye is always to get back to doing that and to have a chance to do that.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to have a partner who's been
Supportive and
super,
helpful.
super supportive and helpful,
Yeah.
and gracious and kind when it comes to doing that and putting up
Yeah.
with me when I
Yeah.
mess
So
up.
anyway, the first show that the first episode I did for the show, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I'm in an entirely different room, and it was like a makeshift background that my wife worked really hard to help me because we have all the boxes in there. So I was like, I can't do it in here because it's just a bunch of white walls. There's no flavor. There's nothing going on. It's going to be very draining and very boring. well, let's put the standees. We got a shit ton of standees of a bunch of stuff, films, comics,
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. So she puts it in the bag and she says, just try with this. Okay, I'll work with that. And then I had a guest on the show, and he, made no comment, not that I expected him to. And I'm watching the episode because I'm editing it, and I'm just looking back at it, and I'm thinking this is such a boring. Not to say the episode was boring, but it looks so draining because the background just didn't have any action going on.
Right.
So then my wife's like, "Well, why don't you use this wall in our room?" I was like, "All right, well then that means I'm going to be talking the entire time while you're probably sleeping." I was like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll use another room for the time being, then I'll come back when you're done." I was like, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, no problem." So this was her idea, and this is mind you, this is a wall full of VHSs that we have meant to put on shelves, but we just never did it. And this is we meant to do this here years ago when we first moved in. It's been 5 years.
Oh wow! But you
So
finally got it done. Or is it still supposed to be on shelves? But you
it's
haven't.
supposed to be on shelf. We just never did it. But because my
It
wife,
looks better like that. I mean,
I think so
I think that
too.
looks really cool.
Yeah, my wife thought the same thing too. She said, "You should probably use this as a background." I was like, "Yeah, I want to, but I don't know." She's like, "Yeah, I'd use it." I was like, "All right, fine, no problem." So, and it was a great idea. So we had just have to move some things around along the way, and put some little things in the background. So I've got like
Dude,
Garfield and much other stuff,
your background
Rocky
looks
over here.
amazing. I can't
So
wait till we move and get our house so that I could have something like that. Because
yeah,
like you and Patrick have awesome backgrounds, and mine is like real domestic. You know, what I mean? It's like I have a very small bookshelf, and then like the kid
well,
little bouncer or whatever it is,
when I
and a
when I
TV.
first started doing NRW reviews, I mean, I had no concept of like using the background as a way to keep people's attention, because usually you can, if you look at the background, it's something about it seems appealing, and then you're
Yeah.
already in tune engaged. And before it would, you saw the clip when I did with Pat in the interview with him. It was just me sitting in a chair and there's the curtains behind me and I'm just like talking, waving my arms, and it
Right.
just seems ridiculous. And I'm like, oh my god. So anyway, so this certainly has helped out, but this was like a process in the making, and this is like years of like stacking, mind you. And there's a lot more that we have back there too that we haven't even
That's
pulled out.
amazing. How
Yeah.
like did you know you were gonna end up using all that, or did you just it's like something you just saved that you wanted to
Well,
have?
well, we wanted, so my wife and I are collectors, and we collect a lot of stuff. For example, I collected toys when I was younger,
Hmm.
and a lot of those toys I've collected when I was a kid are still in the original box. So when I met my wife, I told her that this is what I've collected. And this is just like small collections, like Spawn, Marvel Legend figure, things like that. And I kept those in the original casings. And then when I told my wife that I still want to collect some more things, that got her intrigued. And so, well, let's see what else we could find. And it just escalated from there. So we literally, and this is no joke, we literally have a room full of boxes of toys that we have that we've never opened, because the intention is to keep them in their box, keep them in condition, and display them for everyone, for us to see it in the house. So basically, it's like a museum is what
Yeah,
we want to have in our own
like a
home.
KB Toys or a
Yeah,
Toys R
exactly.
Us.
It's exactly right. And I'm flipping through and see what I have and how I'm going to display them, where I'm going to put them. And so that can be a little overwhelming, but the way I see it is like, I don't give a shit. This is what I want and it's what I love.
You know,
So we
I
have it.
wish that I would have done the same thing when I was younger, because I had like a ton of GI Joes and my sister had a bunch of
Same
cabinets.
here.
I have no idea where all that stuff went. I
Same
imagine
here.
that my like parents like tossed it away, but I had like all kinds of crazy stuff, like all kinds of Transformers and GoBots and GI Joes and even Barbies. I used to make the GI Joes not fight the Barbies, but
Yeah,
GI
I
Joe would
heard
come home and then like
another J.
Barbie
Joe
was
was
hanging out with
there.
He Man, and then
Yeah,
GI Joe would throw He Man
yeah,
through like a
yeah. I
Lego
remember hearing that.
table, and it's like like what's going on in my life that I have like domestic disputes as my outlet.
Toys having disputes. It's like an R-rated Toy Story right there.
Yeah, right. Oh, you know what? Someone should make that. I mean, I know they made Sausage Party. They should make an R-rated.
Well,
Toy
I
Story.
remember Mad TV back in the early days. They did a sex toy story. I don't know if you remember that skit. If you ever watched Mad TV,
Oh.
so basically it was just literally sex toys, dildos, vibrators, things like that, and it just took Toy Story's concept and then did a whole little skit about that. It was pretty funny. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember laughing. I was like a kid when I saw that. And I had no idea what a vibrator was. I just saw like a metal rod. And I was like, why is she shaking? So I didn't understand what was going on.
Why is she shaking?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Some things I got and some things I just didn't get. Like the vibrator, that was the first time I saw one, and I was like, "What in the world is that thing?" I assumed it was just like,
It's a magic
something.
wand. I'm the same way, dude. I just learned how babies are made. So so
Welcome to the
so
club.
yeah, right. So
Yeah,
now I'm like, what? You're telling me there's going to be a baby
yeah, yeah,
now? No, but yeah, man, wild childhood. Just the timing of when you are exposed to everything or whatever. Like I think
yeah,
I saw a lot of crazy shit that I probably shouldn't have seen in
yeah.
terms of like movies and films, like
Same
from a
here.
very young age. But I think like I was kind of quick, as a kid. So it's like I'm watching these very like adult type themes. Like the first
Visceral images.
yeah, the
Yeah.
very first movie that I saw in theaters was Scarface.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, and I was, Scarface came out in like what, like
80.
78 or something,
No,
80,
83.
83.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
83, 82, something like that.
I'm like four. I'm like 4 or 5, and I saw Scarface. And yeah, like I just got it. You know what I mean? Like these themes of like, older shit happen. I just kind of got from like a young age. The second movie I think I saw was Untouchables.
Oh, with
So
Kevin Costner and Sean
yeah,
Connery.
yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
just, that like, but I craved that. And then my mom was like, she tried to take me to see like Bambi, or like one of these Disney movies, and we like fell asleep. Me and my sister, we fell asleep. But interestingly enough, we're both in the film, and we both want to be, like filmmakers, and we've both made films. So it's like, I think that love of like film and cinema was instilled from a very young age, uh, despite seeing things. And that's the thing that in my mind sticks out is, you could have a young child and try to shelter them from things, but
Hmm.
if your child is able to handle it and discern what is fact from fiction or
Yeah.
whatever, it could set them on the path to, doing something like maybe they see Aliens, which is, a horror movie, but they can take it and now they want to do space travel because they want to, figure. I don't know. There's all kind of paths that could take. I think a lot of times we try to shelter kids from things,
Yeah.
even though they could kind of handle it with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right amount of guidance. I really wish I would have sent you this short film that I did, because I love your take on, movies and films when you
Oh, really?
watch
Okay.
them
Thank
and
you.
when you're reviewing them. I like it because it's, you're very, very thoughtful, and like the way that you're thoughtful is different than the way that I'm thoughtful, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, in terms of film. And I like having that other opinion too, because sometimes I feel like I might get way too like critical on something, or wait, or I'll go off into a tangent on how I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
and like it kind of like it takes away from like maybe like the film, and then you'll have like a different point of view. It's like, no, I actually like this. I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't I think about it like that? Like
Well,
like why didn't I have that take? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
what made me go down this path? Or I'll like love a film or whatever and be like, yeah, I really like, and then you'll have a different take, and then you'll be like, yeah, and I'll be like, wait, why did I? Maybe, you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah. I see what you're
that
saying.
difference of opinion I kind of love. Is like that's what I love so much about this whole art form of,
Yeah.
making film, because people interpret it differently, and no one's like wrong in how they do it, and no one's, right in how they do it, but it's all valid. And I like having those differences of
Yeah,
opinion,
well, I
because
mean, it's all subjective at the end of the day, though. If you
yeah,
really think
exactly.
about it, I prefer looking at films that have already come out that I've loved that remain consistently the same form as far as my sentiments are concerned, because then it gives me time to think about what it is that I loved about it the first time and why I still love it to this day. Like I did one for the Turtles film. That's one of my favorite movies of all time,
Right.
and I saw that
Yeah.
movie. That was the first one I saw in
Wait, was
theaters.
it first one or Secret of the Ooze? Because
No, it was the first one.
Secret of the Ooze is my shit. Like that was like Ninja Turtles. The first one was cool, but Secret of the Ooze was like.
Yeah. So so it's funny you said that because even though when I saw that film as a kid, I knew right then and there as a kid. I don't know why that I was able to register that more. I knew that as a kid. I was like, this is more like the cartoons, and it was fine. I mean, I loved it for that. But I knew as a kid the first one was far superior in terms of like storytelling, directing,
Mm,
and compositing of the shots, and keeping the film in the shadows with with the turtles, because at the time the technology with the animatronics wasn't really up to par as opposed to the second film, which got better with that. And that's why everything's so much more colorful, because they were able
better.
to
Yeah.
and show it better. You don't have to worry about hiding all the flaws in it. So it made more sense in the first film, but it worked better. The technical aspects of it, it's far superior. But storytelling and camera,
But the
putting the
first one
cameras
didn't have Vanilla Ice. Okay, it didn't have.
for a good reason, I would say, for a real good reason. You know why? Because they didn't need it. I'm not going to take anything away from Vanilla. I'm not dissing him like that, but it wasn't necessary.
You could just.
I
I
mean, that
feel
movie
like.
was that film was basically like a huge commercial. If you really think about it,
Yeah,
it's just a
pretty much.
giant commercial of like to
Domino's
sell.
pizza and
Yeah, and
yeah.
look, I'm not against that. I am not. Like, look, if Domino's willing to pay me, hey, we'll give you, X amount of money, just make sure you eat it in front of the wife. I mean, I'll admit it. I'll be a whore for them. Absolutely. I love Domino's. I do.
Which will be like the early episodes of You're So Cool were much better before.
Yeah, and I'll look back at it and I'll look back and I'll
sponsorship.
probably be like, damn, I sold myself to the devil. But god damn, they pay me well. They pay me really, really
No,
well.
but it's funny. Like even in this right now, like you're like how subjective you're talking about one versus two, and I think just over the years I've because I feel like if like I just needed to think about things in like kind of a happier or purer form, like just allow
Yeah.
myself to be happy. So like Ninja Turtles 2 is like candy, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like a lot of kind of fan service. They had
Yeah.
because the first one didn't have Casey Jones in it, right? The
I
second one had.
did.
Did the
Yeah, it
first one have
had the best version of
version of,
Casey
yeah,
Jones.
because they recast him in the second one, right?
No, he wasn't in the second one.
He wasn't. I thought he was in
No,
the. I
no,
thought he
he was
was
in
in
the
the second.
third one. They brought him back in the third one, and his character was a
Oh, you know
waste.
what? That's what. Like, so for the second one, I was excited. I was like
No, you're
hoping
probably
that they were
thinking of
going to
the
be.
Out of the Shadows one.
No, no, no.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
for
okay,
sure thinking about where they had Bebop and Rocksteady.
yeah,
But no, but they didn't. They didn't have like that. Oh, that's the other thing. They didn't have Bebop and Rocksteady. They had Toka and Razor, and
yeah.
it's just like, who the fuck are Toka and Razor?
There was meant to be Bebop and Rocksteady. I don't remember the
Right,
reason why
but they
behind
did.
why they didn't put him in there.
Yeah, but then they did this whole other thing, and I just remember having like ninja rap, which I thought was really really cool.
I did too.
Um,
I
and
did too.
yeah, just I don't remember why I liked. Maybe I'm conflating the fact that I liked the first one so much with like the second one having the two additional characters,
Mhm.
Toka and Razor, who those are forgettable characters because we really wanted Bebop and Rocksteady,
Yeah,
but you got some other shit. Um,
yeah. And so I mean,
hey,
like,
this is why I like talking to you about reviews because I'll end up thinking to myself like, wait, I'm thinking about this totally different.
yeah, yeah.
A thing that I do that is kind of crazy, and I did this with Batman versus Superman. Is in my mind, I'll rewrite the movie, and
Mhm.
that will take the place of the movie that I saw. You know what I mean? Like the things that happen in BVS, I'm like, they could have made this movie a lot better if they would have did X, Y, Z. Justice League, they could have made that movie better if they did X, Y, and Z. I'll rewrite it in my mind, and then that will be the version that I'll
Yeah.
think about Justice League when I think about Justice League. And it usually it's a better version of my mind. It's like, oh, they totally could fix
Let's talk about this here now because I always like to ask people about what they've done, and then do they look back on it, and then what they think. We kind of touched upon that in a lot of ways with that here, but specifically with you, and I because I looked at your stand up, and actually we kind of talked about it before with Pat. We were doing a recording for something. I can't remember what it was for, and I talked about, yeah, I saw that you did a roast on with Pat at his home
Yeah,
for his
yeah,
birthday, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about all that.
right.
So like it dawned on me to think, well, let me bring that up then. So I'm curious now, when I brought that up at that time, did you ever think about revisiting some of the things you've done in the past that you may have forgotten about?
I so I'm doing a documentary right now about
Right.
like comedy in this area through COVID, and because of that, I'm looking back through old photos and videos and stuff like that. I've recorded just about every set that I've going on stage and
Right.
done. So I have all those, and a lot of times I'll record them in the moment. You know what I mean? Like I'll record them because I'm preparing for a show in 2 weeks, right?
Mhm.
And I'll rewatch them to get a little insight, figure out how I can write a joke, make a joke tighter or whatever. But a lot of times I'll record and then I don't watch them, and I just, have them so I don't look back. So now it's like I'm looking back on this like, like sometimes years later, and it's like, oh, that was how I used to do the joke, or oh man, I totally forgot about that joke.
Yeah.
That's funny, But here's the angle I would take on it now to increase it, because I feel like I've gotten better as a comedian. I've gotten more skilled, more deft at the craft of comedy. So there are jokes that I was doing when I first started that I'm like, oh, here's what that joke needed. Here's what I should have did. Here's why that wasn't funny. Um, but yeah, I do look back on things that I've done, and I started going back and looking at some of the short films that I created, because I've been trying to do more directing and whatnot. So I've been looking at where I've come from in terms of directing, and how I've increased my ability, or made them better. Um, and it is kind of fun to look back and just be like, damn, that's what I did. Most of the things that I've done, I look back on fondly,
Yeah.
because I've always been um I've been kind of, I don't know when it was, maybe in high school or whatever. I've been kind of just like a go-getter, like do it. Like don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, right? So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of times, and that's what I was saying with the skits, I kind of fell back into that habit of like, no, 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 let me set it up perfect to do the perfect thing, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, nah, just make the thing and it'll be what it's going to be. And
Yeah.
I keep thinking about it like like all these uh movie stars, or even comedians, because it's like, yeah, I can go out there and I can do this show and try to make it the best show I ever had, like put everything into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But also, I realize it's not going to be my last show. So it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then go out there, make it the best you can for this moment, and then
Yeah.
move on to the next one and make that one the best you can. And eventually you'll get to the point where everything you do is like really good, because you just have been in this mode. Whereas, you kind of hype yourself up to be really good in this moment, and then that moment comes and goes, and then it's like, what do you do next? How do you figure it out next? And I, didn't um, I don't have those hangups because
Yeah.
of how I took it.
That's one of the things I appreciate about when I've listened to you talk, because I've watched a lot of some of the, well, actually quite a few actually of your interviews that you've done. And I always liked your thought process when it came to your approach with comedy, now with your films and your short films, and now with this upcoming documentary you're working on right now. So that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you too, because I always appreciate people who have a unique insight, and it's usually something about them that I think most people, at least the general public, I would say, don't necessarily pick up on. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like to do my research on people, because there's always that one little thing. Because actually, when I did the interview with Pat, I talked about, hey, so I looked at your background, what you did, and
No, when you were bringing up his old school,
right, and like I saw it in his face. He's like, "Oh, you got the deep cut," because I
you
guess
got
he
the deep
thought
cut,
that I was
yeah,
gonna be like, "Well, remember that time when you worked on Ace Ventura? Yeah, that's fine. That's interesting. I'm not saying that isn't,
right,
but I was looking into it, and it's usually stuff by accident that I come across. Right, it's
yeah.
never because let me see what I can find, and let's see what's interesting to talk about. And then I talked about, you wore a gorilla suit. What what was going, dude, bro? I don't even know. So you saw that, right?
You know what's
That
funny is I don't remember how I saw that, but I saw that too, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he did this. And I'm like,
right.
how did I know? It might have been for the roast. I was doing research trying to get
Okay, okay.
background,
Right, right, right.
and that's how I ended up coming across it too. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
how did I know that he did that? Like because that's a super deep cut.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. It's one of those things that, like, it's like deep in the memory. That's more or less
You
how
know
I
it's
like that.
interesting when I because you had done your podcast, right, and
Mhm.
then you had put it up, and I was looking at it to just basically like give idea if I needed to say something,
Right,
or
right.
not needed to say something, but give you like feedback, because I think you asked for feedback during during one of our things, and I was looking at it, and that was one of the things that I was gonna say was oh, like when you started your interview, you didn't start like and say like, this is our guest, blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
this is what they do or whatever. But then after I watched I think two or three episodes or whatever,
Yeah.
like I for like something clicked in my head, like, oh, I don't think he needs that, because I kind of rock with the way that it's going. It's kind of like you're
Yeah.
saying now, it's like a fly on the wall or whatever.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like a critique that I would have had, that if I didn't let it play out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it doesn't reach its eventual, like what it's going to be. It doesn't have
Yeah.
its butterfly
Yeah, yeah.
a moment. But I think it's like really cool what you've done and the vision that you had for, you know, what this is, because I love the idea of like what you just said, like hearing you explain it. Like
Yeah.
you walk into a conversation and it's not like you don't necessarily need to get the backstory on the, you're just
Yeah.
kind of you're encapsulated in the fact that these guys are just these two people are just talking about some really cool stuff, and you know, whichever way the conversation is going, and you're kind of
Yeah.
along for the ride. I really like it, and I rock with that. I meant to tell you that because I had watched it and I was going to give you like a note or like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
like when
yeah.
you're doing a
I'm
thing.
all
But
for that, by the way. So yeah, anything you want to share or you
yeah,
want to give a constructive criticism, I always tell people, I don't, you got to give it to me straight. I don't.
yeah.
What I don't appreciate is it sucked. Okay, well, tell me what about it
Which,
sucked.
but yeah,
Yeah, it just wasn't that good.
I don't know. Yeah, I hate it when people can't give you like a. It's like, don't come to me with a problem. Come with me a
Yeah,
solution. Like, hey, I
right,
didn't like it because of X, Y, Z. I think you can fix this, or no
right.
specifics. It's just like, yeah,
Or
just
I'm also okay too if someone says, "Listen, I don't know this shit that you do, but I'm going to tell you this." I actually had someone tell me recently because I sent them a link to the video because I didn't tell them what I was doing for one of the reviews I was doing. Hey, I did a review for this. Let me know what you think. I'm all for constructive criticism. I always emphasize that constructive criticism.
yeah,
Okay, cool. And they replied back saying, "You did pretty good. I think you were comfortable, but you say ums and a lot." And I
right.
look back and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I do that. Let me change that. So now I'm like catching myself as I say it. So
It's
I'm trying to be
hard,
very
isn't it?
right. Yeah, because it's a force of
I
habit.
fix that when I'm
So
doing my show. I get the same thing, bro. It's
yeah,
and I keep thinking to myself, I gotta cut it out because when I'm editing it, and when you're editing this,
yeah,
you're probably hearing it every time, and it's just like kind of like a
yeah.
scratch every time you hear the You're like, damn it, stop it.
You,
What's on
you
your notepad?
it's all about. It literally says here Glenn Lowe's interview, and I put some bullet point or some information here about what you've talked about in the past and what I didn't really want to bring up again because like I said I don't want to be bringing up the same
Gotcha, gotcha,
rehash the
gotcha,
same thing
gotcha.
over and over again with you.
Yeah,
So like I said, I try to pinpoint some things that I picked up on that wasn't talked about before,
right.
and then
Well,
focus on those things.
what do we miss? What's on the pad that we missed?
Well, so a lot of it was actually covered here. We talked about your the short films you've done, and I forgot about there was one thing I brought was on there that I wanted to bring up was because you worked with a production company here. Let me see where was it here because I gotta look through this here. Christ, what was it called? Oh, OSAAT Entertainment.
Yeah,
You worked
outside
on because it
entertainment. Well, that's my family's production company.
okay. Well, because I
Yeah.
because I was watching on your channel some of the videos you've done, and two that I came across that what I was interested in bringing up with you was about the it was one, it was called Vernon Davis Art as Life back in 2016, and the other one
Uh-huh.
was Art and Soul NCCF, a mentor video. And I don't and there were serious situations here, but one of them actually made me laugh only because one of the guys that was talking sounded so much like Ben Stein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that video.
Yeah, I think that was the professor that he
Yeah.
had in at University of Maryland. So
Mhm.
that was kind of interesting. I had a friend of mine who they needed to do a video, like a promotional video. They were having like a art showing or art gallery or something.
Yeah.
So they had me mentor a couple of at-risk youth, I think,
Yeah,
in DC.
yeah, I thought you were going to be featured in the video, but you weren't because it said on there Glenn Lawrence mentors, and I was like, well, where are you
Yeah,
in the
I was
video?
mentor. So basically, I was teaching and showing those students, the two people who were interviewing, how to create a video or how to go about doing a documentary. So I came in and showed them how to work the equipment,
Yeah.
and showed them how to put something and piece something together. So that was a pretty cool experience. And then there was like this, it was one of these like galas or get-togethers, where people pay $1,000 a plate or whatever it is,
Right. Right.
to auction off some art and all this other type of stuff. And that though these two videos were two videos that were played during it. So it was me mentoring the kids in one video, which was the one Art is Life or whatever, talking about the kids, and they put it together, so helped them edit that. And then the other one was just the Vernon Davis introspection type thing, where he talked about his life outside of football and how much
Yeah.
art really played a part in it, how much he loves art. And it was very cool. I got to interview his grandmother, got to interview like some of his teachers or whatever. He's a very cool dude, man. Very, and it actually made me not hate the Washington football team so much, because he started playing for him or whatever. And I'm not a very big WFT fan. I'm a Eagles fan.
Eagles fan. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it was very interesting, because so I'll root for that dude a lot. So I got to meet him, took a picture with him, talked to him. He really enjoyed it, really liked the direction and everything. And it was super cool. It was a great experience. Got to meet some really great people. Um and it was cool. And the Osai Entertainment, that's like my family's publishing company. Like, I don't know if you know this, but you may have heard it. My mom is like an author, and she's done like
Yeah.
30 books or so, or
Yeah, I
whatever.
heard that.
Yeah,
I
so
actually was gonna look into that as well too, because I wanted to. I was looking to see what kind of book, the books that she's written, but I just never got. I just forgot to do it because I heard that in one of your interviews, and I was curious to see what she wrote for me to look into and getting here. So I was gonna
yeah,
ask you, what would you recommend that you think would be a good one
I
to start off with?
listen. I love her book, Babies Raising Babies, because it's about our childhood, which is very very cool. I keep hyping that one, although it's kind of like more insight into me, and I'm like, I don't. I mean, I'm grown now. I don't think someone's going to kidnap me, because it's like, when you're younger, they could
Yeah.
tell you a story and be like, "Hey, I know you're a teacher," and you're like, "What? I'll go with you to eat candy." You know what I mean? But now I'm like, now, now, now I'm like a
I can't
grown up.
imagine some kid literally saying, "Hey, I got puppies. Yeah, I'll go in your car and eat candy." Like, well, I just said puppies.
Exactly. But like, I don't know, it's just cool to have like a recollection of your youth from your
Right, right.
parents' point of view. And she has like a lot of other books, and I've read a lot of those too. A lot of them are about family. She has some ones that are it's funny, because some of them are like erotic or whatever. And I remember reading one, and then it
Oh,
just was,
really?
yeah, it was just getting into like like some sex stuff, and I was like, ah, ah! I like threw it. I was like, I
Really?
can't.
Your mom wrote that?
This is
Really?
yeah. She just writes. She writes a
Oh, I
ton of stuff.
understand.
And
Yeah.
then I was like, I'm not. I can't. I'm not. That's mom. Mom. Mom doesn't have these thoughts. Uh, as you grow up, your parents for some reason are just these asexual amorphous beings. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Like, I,
yeah,
I don't know about you. Maybe it's different in
no,
your
well, I
your
mean, my
upbringing.
mom and my my mom and my dad, I think, was the only one that was really more open to that after my mom and him had divorced. Actually, I think about it now. I don't know. If, maybe I should say I don't know, but there was a story that he was telling me about. I'm not going to go into details, but it involved with one of his exes, and she was mad and was making these like uh, claims about what she had done, and he was really open about that. And I was like, huh, I never thought he would ever be willing to share something like
Yeah.
this with me. But it wasn't like grotesque stuff. It was more like just like general, insight of that I would hear from my friends, and here he is sharing that with me about his experiences
Right.
with these women. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It's kind of surreal, right?
Yeah, it
It's
was a little
like,
surreal. But then I got desensitized to that, because then afterwards I started asking him questions about his experiences and whatever else. And it was never really a thing for me. But I mean, like my mom, on the other hand, she was a little more reserved, but I think it was mainly because, my mom and dad had a pretty rough relationship. And when they separated, there were some things she's like, there's some things I want to tell you, but I just, I'd rather keep it private. I was like, okay, well, I didn't ask, but sure, why
yeah,
not?
right.
It was one of those things.
You should have her on an episode of You're So Cool, and then you'll get the full
My
backstory.
mom is, my mom is not, honestly, it did cross my mind to ask my mom to be on the show, but my thing is that my parents, a lot of things that I'm interested in learning about them tend to be more on the private side
Yeah.
about some of the things they've experienced for reasons more because it involved other people that they may not want to share.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of things that I've learned about my mom that when I was growing up, that my uncle was sharing with me. And I was like, why didn't you know this before? And it's like, well, it involved this person and that person. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can see
Yeah, that
why we
makes
don't want to
sense.
share that. So it's one of those things that I would love to share those stories, but I don't know if it will ever come out just
Mhm.
because it's just too many people's personal
lives are
things that are
in
involved
there.
that they don't want to be revealed. That's really
Yeah.
what it is.
Luckily, I don't know. Luckily, I've been able to keep things pretty self-contained. Although I probably like dished on some things that, but I'm pretty good at changing names to protect the innocent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
actually, my mom is going to be on an episode of the Blur Dad podcast. I think the episode right before, or yeah, right before you, or right, yeah, I think like right before you, the episode is going to be my mom, and that's because the baby is going to be born sometime in the near future, and I kind of wanted to have her
Mm,
be the episode where the baby is born. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
the first episode being her being a grandmother and talking a little bit about it, giving me some great advice while I'm holding the baby. So I thought that would
You,
be very cool.
you know what's funny? I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that parents should have their kids when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that that was the normal because my mom and my dad had me when they were like 20, 19, 20, and I had my son when I was 20. No, no, I was about to be 21. He was going to be no, wait
Smart.
a minute. Yeah, it was somewhere on there. Yeah. And my wife, yeah, we were in our 20s, like 20, I would say. Anyway, so I used to think that, and then as I got older and I became more aware of, the ages of parents when they have their kids, a lot of them tend to be a lot older, and I always thought that was just too late. I was like, you can't have a kid when you're 40. Well, I mean, I had my kid when I was 50. I
Oh
remember I had a
shit!
girl I went to school with. Her father was 78 when I was in high school.
Damn.
And I was like, God damn, how many are you his first? He's like, no, I'm like his like third marriage. My mom is his third marriage. And I was like, God damn. So she has like
Still
brothers and sisters
busting
who are
them
like in their
out.
70s, or I mean, in their 50s or 40s at that point.
Well, I mean, I had a very strong pull-out game for a very, very long time, and it's pretty immaculate. Had a pretty great record. Never even a scare, bro. And
You pull in
it's
those
good.
reps.
Yeah, it served me well. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
got to
yeah, yeah.
do everything while I was young or whatever. And I've seen a lot of people have them young. And in my mind, I was always thinking like, would it be better for me to just like accidentally have a kid now? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
just like deal with it. But I'm much more content to have my kid at this age. Although, there's like, oh man, I'm going to be older. It's going to be hard for me to like get up and down the court, play
Yeah, yeah.
basketball with them and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, it's like I'm much more content now than if I had a kid when I was like 20 something, if I had a kid when I was, mid
Yeah, I guess
20s,
it just depends on
you
the
know.
mindset really of the person
Yeah.
and what they're
So
going
wait, did
through.
you get all your like again, let's go back to talking about you here, Rob. Did you get all your like fun and like living it up before you had the kid out,
Well,
or do you feel like you like missed out on those 20
no,
those
no, no.
years?
Oddly enough, so 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 I started really hanging out with friends and experiencing, certain pockets of like events, with my friends. One of my really good friends in school was really into music, and in fact, I was in a band with him. In fact, I talked to him yesterday. I hadn't talked to him in years, and we just spoke yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were just reflecting on where we went through our years. So moments like that, we had house parties with bands where cops were called. Like, I had those moments.
Right.
And then I remember after high school, I hung out with a neighbor of mine who became a friend of mine who was older than me at the time. Well, I mean, obviously he's older now, but he was older than me, and he took me to clubs,
Oh,
and I went through those experiences with him, where I went to clubs. It was literally for like a year or two, where I was hanging out in clubs with him almost every weekend. And so I've seen some things that I was like, I had only seen in movies. And here I am seeing like guys whose house I was just at the night before, the weekend before, and they were with their wives, and all of a sudden they're fucking out with other girls. And I was like, holy shit, it's like right in front of my eyes.
like you
And
can
those
do
are,
that.
yeah, well, I mean, like I was so, like I said, I was really naive as a kid. And even though, and the things I was exposed to like at a certain periods in my life. So I had those experiences with parties and, things like that. When my wife and I had our kid, we were having apartment parties rather, because we were living in an apartment at the time at our place, and those parties were crazy. I swear, cops were called. My cousin, who at the time was not married to her husband, they were getting into an argument. at the in the house party, and and he's this big, massive, white, great guy though, really, really lovely guy. Like I love this guy to death. But he was at they were getting into an argument, and it looked like he was being abusive, but he wasn't. I knew the situation. It was one of those things you don't know it until you actually when you're there until you're
Right.
there. So
Where
I
it's
knew
like,
what was
oh,
going on.
yeah, yeah.
So and I had to like, yo, man, you got to step out because these guys don't know they don't know the whole story.
And you just look like a big
You
dude
gotta you
who's
gotta be out
overbearing
there.
on some white
Yeah. And,
some
and my
chick,
wife,
and
my
then yeah.
cousin's a frail little girl, and it just looked that way, but it wasn't. And she was drunk too. So it seemed like there was a lot. It was a bunch of nonsense. And I told him you gotta
It's like
step
you don't
out.
understand. She could
Right.
drink and she's got a mean right hook.
Well, for him, no, but so like it was one of those things like that escalated and it was solved. But then another thing escalated. So we had moments like that. And then my mom and my wife threw a house party for me, and everybody got drunk. Myself and my sister's dog got drunk. So like it was one of those things. Everyone was puking all. I mean, it was like I was unbelievable. So we had our moments with our
Right.
son, in those events prior to him and me, in my earlier 20s and late 20s and early 30s around there, and all that stopped. So I had those experiences, but it was never really that intentional. It was to a point, but most of those events never really were intentional. It was just like it happened.
You know what's
And
interesting? I had those moments when I was younger, and then I got married because I got married when I was young. I got married like 23 or something like that.
mm,
Um, and then I was married for about a decade or whatever, and then got divorced. And I was cool. I was cool. Like same thing that you're saying. And then like like when I got out of marriage, it was very intentional that I'm about to live it up for
yeah,
what I mean. And then did for like my 30s, so it was like early 30s. So the whole 30s, it was like living it up again. And then now I'm 40, and it's like kind of cruise control, like take it back down and like chill
yeah,
out. And I'm okay being home. I'm okay just setting up like a stroller or whatever for a bunch of hours at home, or setting up a crib or something. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it,
yeah,
like when you're younger, it's just like, man, I gotta do this, and like I really want to
yeah.
be
There's a
out
bit of
there
that for
getting it
me.
with it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But now I have no like inkling of that. It's like I don't feel like I'm missing out on something by not being by not being in the house.
yeah,
Except for when it comes to comedy, I'm like, damn, I'm missing out on those moments of being hanging out, with comics like late night. But I've done all that too, because I was single when I first started comedy, and then we were dating, but still able to hang out or whatever. So now it's like I could be real professional with the comedy instead of looking at it as an outlet for those youthful energy.
yeah. I think it varies between people because some people have do very well in certain areas, and when it comes to parenting or just being responsible in general at whatever age that may be. I met a guy I'll never forget who was extremely disciplined with his diet at 13. And
Yeah,
most
right.
13-year-old kids they're not, most of them, right? But for whatever reason, this guy was very on point with working out, being on a diet. And I remember I talked to him about, well, you don't eat McDonald's. He's like, I've only had it once. And I was like, God damn it, at 13 years old, you only had McDonald's
13, yeah,
once?
right.
Like that was shocking to me.
You didn't get
And
hooked on them fries, bro.
yeah, and I was like, how the hell does that happen? Like, because to me that was so normal for kids to be around and behave that way, still be ripped and eating like shit all the time, and they're still playing sports. And this guy was the total opposite. He was in shape, good looking kid too, very polite, very nice. He was very articulate.
Have you seen him
And
now?
I haven't. This is back in middle
He
school, so I
probably
have
he
never
probably
seen him
got
since.
fat. like if you
Maybe.
like if you if you
He probably
abstain
had
that
that. He
long.
probably had that French fry. He's like, you know what? I've never had McDonald's since I was like 9. I'm gonna have
I've
them
seen
right
him.
now.
Remember Dodgeball with Ben Stiller, where
Yeah,
like at the end where he loses and he gets like super fat at the
yeah.
end.
Fucking Chuck Norris. I remember that scene very. I saw that movie in theaters.
Yeah, I fucking love it,
That
dude.
was a
It's
great movie.
it's,
Yeah,
it's a
but
great movie.
yeah, man, it was yeah, those little moments in life I think are it's like I remember at one point too. I don't know if you've ever experienced this too when if skipping school. For
Mm-hmm.
me, when I skipped school, I didn't do anything crazy. I just went out for a walk.
No.
And yeah, seriously, I intentionally skipped
You
school
did
because
old man shit for skipping school.
yeah, I literally they're like, "What were you doing? Did you go to house?" I'm like, no, I just literally went around the corner and went for a walk from here to McDonald's, and then I saw this other store around the corner that I'd never been to. I walked over there. It was literally like that.
I got a newspaper, started
I
reading
actually did one point, honest to God. I really did. I got a newspaper at one point. Seriously. I remember I was at a 7-Eleven, not far from the school, and I walked there and I
You
went
just did
inside
old man shit for senior
because
skip day.
you know why I
Like you
got it?
took it real literal when it was
No,
senior skip day. You're like, I'm a senior citizen.
well, I was 14 or something, I think. I don't, but I literally went to 7-Eleven and I had to use the bathroom because I was, I drank water and I made it there and I had to piss really bad. So I went inside and I don't know what the hell I can't remember why I had that thought process, but I remember thinking, don't be rude and just use the bathroom and take advantage of it. Buy something. So I was let me buy the newspaper. So I bought the paper. That's what it was. I remember. I don't remember how I
That's hilarious.
what got
I
into.
would love I might if you don't mind, I would love to take this story on stage. Like just the fact of
No,
you
I
like like
go.
getting out of school and just doing old man shit and just walking around.
No.
See, for my skip day, I was like, yo, where are these bitches at, man? Let me
Uh,
let's
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I was looking for that, to be honest with you, but I was so
right.
much of a shy kid. I didn't have the balls to
I
do
was
that.
very shy, but I was also very much like uh inquisitive in that way. Like ooh. Like from a very young age, I just knew about like like women. Like oh, I really like her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like not I don't think I ever went through the girls have cootie stage. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah, I was never really that
I was
great
like
with
girls
women.
have coochie.
No, I was never. I mean, were you a bit of like a ladies' man growing up? And
No, I
you
was a fucking nerd, dude.
okay?
I was not at all. And I'm still not. Every now and then I'll have like a little like a spurt. And usually when my good streak with ladies is when I shut the fuck up. Like if I'm like usually me talking is what ruins it. Like I've talked
Yeah,
myself out of pussy like a bunch of
but
times.
you still want to continue on, or you want to call it all
No,
here?
I gotta cook some food for the wife, but yeah, man, I'd love to do this. You know, anytime you need a fill-in guest, I don't mind, and it was fun.
Appreciate that, but is there anything you want to plug in before we head on out here? Before we end this
No,
here?
just have people check out. I love your podcast here. You're so cool. But new release Wednesday or Nerds Rule the World, which I guess is the rebrand. So check
Yeah.
us out for the reviews there. That's on YouTube. Also levelupcomedy.com. That's where you can go and check up on everything that I'm doing you know with Level Up. The Blur Dad podcast is on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. And the special that I have is on YouTube. It's on the Level Up Comedy
It's a good one. I
DC.
forgot to talk about
Yeah.
that, but yeah, it's a great one. I actually did see everything from start to finish, and
Oh, really?
yeah, I saw
Yeah.
the nice little surprise at the end with you
With the
proposing.
wait, so yeah, wait. Before we go, what did you like? If you gave it an honest critique of the special, what would you what would
How
you
do you
say
want me to
about it?
rate it? Like to for you?
I guess what is your just your normal what is your normal ranking that you usually do for
Oh,
funny stuff?
the Cheers ranking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for me, I would say that it's a raise the glass.
Okay, cool.
I would say it was raise the glass. There was I did enjoy it a lot. I really really did. I think the most that I connected with is when you were actually going to more like the personal side of it.
Uh huh.
Those are the things that I really connected with. And then Loy's intro, I thought that whole intro thing that you did was really good. And then the outro, him doing
That's
these
edited, by
retakes.
the way. That
Right,
I had to put that together because
right,
he filmed it a thing. Like I actually did play it for the people there, but then
yeah,
there was a malfunction when it
yeah.
happened, so I had to like edit it. Yeah, so it's
So, but I like that, and I also like the retakes that he was doing. Like, he was doing all these different things, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you do people do that as well too, because a lot of times I used to think that it's all improvised in one shot, but then you go back and I saw, oh, okay, so Loy had to do it more than once to kind of get
yeah.
it fine tuned. So that I appreciated when you did that after you did the proposal to your fiance. I thought it was really nice too. I wish it was a little closer, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
to get that full reaction. But I understood why it was set up that way. But I thought that the way you had the camera angled out, that we would get those shots of those little positions there. That's what I thought was going to happen there. But otherwise, I enjoyed it, man. I
Nice.
went back and watched it again. So
Oh,
good.
cool,
Yeah,
dude. That's all I could ask for. It
yeah,
I and that the thing about that special, I don't know if you wanted to edit this and put it like deeper or earlier in the podcast, but the thing about that special that is so interesting is before this whole pandemic and everything,
Yeah.
I had been, going gangbusters at comedy, and my cadence was really, really good, and it was really,
Yeah.
really fine tuned,
Dude, I
right?
love that one bit. There's one bit that you did where you were the Black Panther suit in one of your stand-ups.
Oh yeah.
That shit had me rolling because I was like, "Is he wearing what I think he's wearing?" So I thought that was hilarious. I actually thought that because I saw that first before I saw your special.
Yeah.
And I love your thumbnail too, by the way. I thought that thumbnail was fucking hilarious. The
Yeah.
bulging eyes I thought
Yeah.
that was great.
That's what it's supposed to look like, and I don't know if people got the reference. It's supposed to be like Charlie Day from like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
I,
where he does like the
it
conspiracy
looked
theories and
familiar, but
stuff.
I didn't really catch on to it. But now that you
Yeah.
mention it, now I see it there. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what it
I
was supposed to be, but everyone's just like, oh, he's just crazy with big eyes.
no, I love that thumbnail. But I felt like I knew it from somewhere, but I only watched handful of episodes of
Of
It's
It's
Always
Always
Sunny,
Sunny.
so I didn't
Okay.
really catch on to it. Now that you mention it, yeah, I picked up on it
But
now.
yeah, my cadence and everything was really, really good. And then I had no practice to do that. And I was preparing to like do this, proposal. So I had just gotten the ring, and then the
Yeah.
ring was a whole thing because they sent me the wrong ring, and I had to send it back, and it just arrived the day before or something, and I had to hand it off to my neighbor, and then I set up all the lights myself, and you know what I mean, like
I
just shitted the
appreciated the
camera and
production
everything.
side of
Yeah.
it too. It was really good.
Yeah, so it was like it just makes me think like, man, if I had time to one be at open mics, practice honing, getting these jokes down, that would change things. If I wasn't the one doing my own production, that would change things. If I wasn't, if I wasn't proposing like making a life-changing question, like at the end of it, that probably would change it. So it's like, I don't know. I love that special because the degree of difficulty I feel like
Yeah,
is very high.
to me, it felt very personal, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. And I like that I connected with that because you had that closure, and then you see the overall package with it, and I thought it was
Thanks.
funny. So yeah,
Thanks, man. That's
I hope
hopefully
you
the
could do another one real
yeah.
soon.
Well, I plan to do one before the end of the year. I want to at least shoot one and put it out for the end of the year. But I got this documentary that I'm working on,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
if you ever think to do a documentary, don't. It just takes
takes too
so
much time,
much
right? Yeah,
time,
I know, what
and
you think.
and and I'm like, why did I choose to do this? But it's like we had all that time off. It's like, why wouldn't I do it? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But I feel like I'm like a lot of the work for it I've kind of done, you know what I mean? So now it's like really whittling it down or whatever.
yeah.
Which is kind of the hard part, but it's just interesting because like it's a lot, and we had this whole year off, and I feel like I used the time effectively. So hopefully that'll come out, before the end of the year. But I do want to do another special, but I want to get the reps in, get the cuts in. I have a bunch of jokes, and the cool thing about that special too is it wasn't a lot of my A jokes, like my main jokes that I really want to get out
You
there.
talking for your
So
special?
yeah, for the special, it wasn't
Yeah,
like the A material. It was
yeah,
like
I was gonna ask you about that too because yes, I wish we did this earlier, but I wanted to ask you about that because I thought the jokes were really good. I really, really did. But honestly, a part of me felt like this was just like almost like a testing ground, if you will. That's what I
I
kind of
mean,
felt like.
like I wanted to get something out. Here's the thing is there are some things that I kind of wanted to get out there that I'm like, this is in this pandemic, some of those things won't be there for
Yeah.
doing later in specials or whatever, or it's just, not the time. So I wanted to put something out for the time, right? So that's what I did. And the other thing is I wanted to do the other jokes that I had justice. So I wanted to save them for doing them at another special, like at a different time. Which, maybe that's conceited. Everybody's like, do your best stuff. But I think when I put it out there, people liked it and the reception was good enough that I'm like, no, like, even though these weren't my A jokes or whatever, like it was still good enough that people liked it, and it
I
gives
liked
them a
it.
taste of like, oh, I'll watch the next one. The last one was pretty good. Let's see what the next
Yeah.
one looks like,
Yeah.
and hopefully the next one will be even,
It's almost
bigger
like
and
an
better.
audition special, it feels like to me.
Exactly. Well, which is why I put it on YouTube instead of
Yeah.
like putting it out on Prime or whatever. It's just like, here's kind of like a taste, because people were like, yo, where's your comedy? Where's your comedy? I want to see something. I want to see something. So I finally put that out to be like, look, here's a thing. And it's, pretty well produced. It's got, it's good value to it. And then
Yeah.
I think that that'll wet the whistle until I put out another special, which hopefully will be a bigger and better one. I already got the name for it. It's Kite from the Crate, which is a take on, I don't know if you know about, prison culture or whatever, but people hand like letters, you know what I mean, and called kites.
I'm not. My wife is. So if you've said that, she would probably. Oh, I know what you're talking about because she watches all that stuff. So,
but if
she's
you
more
like
familiar.
dogs, dogs get crated or whatever. And I don't know if you saw, like at the end, it had the artwork for the next one, which is basically like a picture.
I remember that now.
Like the dog is like half the
screen. I remember
in
now.
the cage or whatever. So dogs in the crate, and I think it'll be. I have a really cool concept, a really cool idea of where I want it to go. So I'm hoping that everything will fit together and mesh together and come together just as well as I gotta say something. So and at the very least, I was like, if the world comes to an end, I put out a body of work in my comedy, so that was cool.
And hopefully the aliens will capture it and use this is the history of the world, starting with Glenn Lawrence.
Or at least be in the narrative somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe not at the beginning or the end, but somewhere in there, like I pop up.
And if they capture this, he's like that other guy that Glenn was on. He talks too fucking much about himself.
And no wonder the world got to the point.
And no wonder the world ended.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, man. Thanks again for having me.
No, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate.
Can't wait to do it again.
I will look forward to doing it again with you, man. But anyways, I'll leave you to it, man. Cook that dinner, and I'll see you.